Let's talk about tuples now. So when we talk about tuples, it is similar like your list in Python. Okay. So let's create another project, okay, another file, and let's name it as tuple tuples example. So whenever we write tuples is also similar like list, but they are immutable type of list. And whenever we talk about immutable, it simply means that you cannot change the part of a tuples. Now, in order to create a tuples, like for example, like how we have created list. So, num number tuples is equal to, now whenever we denote a list, we denote with brackets, right? A square bracket. But whenever we denote a tuples, we'll use the round brackets. Now, for example, like let's say I'm taking numbers like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. And let's say if I take name tuples is equal to, let's say John, Tracy, Victor, Max, and Jason. Okay, so this is the list. Now let's say if I want to print a data, so I'll say print num tuples index of 2, and when I try to execute this code, you can see the output is 30. And let's say if I say print name tuple index of 4, so we get output as Jason. So this is how we access the tuples over here. Now there is one more way to access a tuples and a list is, for example, if I want the names from Tracy till Max, that is 1, 2 and 3 data together, so I can write print name tuples from 1, 2, 3. And now if I execute this, you can see, okay, I got these 2 names now. I'll use over here as 4. We got all the 3 names, right? So this is also we can access our tuples. Now, if I try, for example, if I try, let's say number tuples index of 1 is equal to 90. And if I execute this, now can you see we got an error? Tuple object does not support item assignment. That means whenever we try to update a tuple, we cannot. That means we cannot update them since tuples are immutable, which means you cannot update or change the value of tuples. So that's the reason this will be not happening. Now we can do one thing. We can say like tup, let's say mix tuple is equal to number tuple plus name tuple. And now if I say print mix tuple, can you see both the tuples are merged together? So we can merge them, but we cannot modify them. Okay. Now, for example, if I want to delete any data from my tuple, let's say from my number tuple, I want to delete 30. So I say del delete num tuple index of 2. So now if you will see, when I am using element to get deleted, it gives me an error which says tuple object does not support item deletion. That means you cannot even delete. Like in the list segment, if you come about list, we were getting an option to update our list, that is by using append. We were also getting an option to delete a list, but here we are not able to do the same. But we can do one thing, that we can say delete num tuple. Now also it says me num tuples cannot be defined. Okay, so we cannot even modify, or we cannot even try to change the data or delete the data in tuples. But if you want to perform some actions, for example, let's say if I want to perform an action to find the length of tuple, so I can say print len of number tuples. It now prints me and gives me the value 6. That means there are 6 data available in number tuples. Now, if I want to concatenate 2 data, I already have shown one example of concatenation, right? So this we can do for concatenating data. For example, if I want to repeat some data, consider if I have to repeat some data, then what I can do is I can say print the num tuples multiply by 4 times, or any time whichever you tell it. So if you say right now, see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So we can print this for the 4 consecutive times. Okay. Then also if you want to iterate the data, you can iterate over it. Okay. To find one single data, you can say for x in number tuples, and then you can say print x. So you'll get individual data as we know. Then also you can even try to find the membership. Now if you say if 3 in num tuples, if 3 is available in number tuples, print it's a member of tuples. If not, then else, print it's not a member of tuples. So if you see right now, if I execute this particular part of code, so I'll get an output that it's not a member of tuples. Okay. So this is all about your tuples. Okay. Let us understand now about Python maps. Now when we talk about Python map is a function. Okay. Map function returns the object, that's the map object, which is an iterator which iterates on the map data. In order to understand it, what is exactly this map function, let's take a simple example. Okay, so I'll just create a file first, Python file, and let's say map example. Okay, now consider an example where I have certain sort of list. For example, name list, which is equal to, I want to take a list of names like Tracy, Victor, then let's say Jason, let's say John. Okay, these are certain data which I have in a list. Now what I can do is, if I want to iterate the data, okay, if I want to iterate the data, I can just simply write print, first is name list, so if you see, I'm getting output as the whatever output it is. If I want to print one by one, I'll use a for loop, right? For name in name list and printing the name. This can be one example, right? But if I tell you that I want all the letters to be separated in a list, then what I can do? So what I'm going to do over here is, I'm using, let's say example, SEP, that's for the separate, is equal to name list, and inside this name list I'm using the function of map, where I have let's say I'm taking map of list, And which list I am taking? Name list. Okay, this also I'll make it as a list because I'm creating a list. Okay, now let's say we'll do print SCP. So now this was one list, right? Inside this we have created one list which is named as Tracy, one list which is created as Victor, one list which is created as Jason, and one list which is created as John. So this is how map iteration works. Basically the map iteration, whichever we write, the map function has an iterator inside it. So it is iterating on single data and creating a list accordingly. Okay, that's the use of a map function in list or tuples. You can even do it in tuples also. Okay, it's not compulsory that it can be occupied in list. You can also use it in tuples too. Okay, this is all about your maps in Python.